Thanks everybody, for joining us, today and taking some valuable share of your time to actually listen, to us. Eric Legrand, I'm the head of the GBS practice, for operations, EMEA in Accenture. I have 27 years of experience in turnaround transformation and operational excellence. The first 15 years, I was literally in your shoes. I was sitting on what we call, the client side, worked in the bank, work in industrial companies, work in life science as well. And then after that, I spent, the remaining part of my time, working on the advisory side and operation side. And it's my pleasure, today, to welcome Rajeev. Rajeev is an incredible leader, which works, at Mondelēz, as he has a VP position, for digital operations, at Mondelēz. Rajeev, just you want to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I wish we had put some algorithm to choose the chairs. Me and Eric were joking backstage. Let's shift chair to chair asking questions. But just by introduction, I'm Rajeev. I work for Mondelēz. I joined them in November 2022. Prior to this, spent about majority of the career with the Coca-Cola company, running their digital transformations as CIO and CEO for a shared service entity. Worked with companies like SAP and DHL and been on the route and ground distributing packets and counting the number of envelopes. Very happy to be here and thanks for coming and listening to us.
Thanks, Rajeev. Maybe just a few words, to set the scene. Really. According, to Accenture latest, Pulse Index, we've actually identified, that for the World Economic Forum, that reinvention, is really at the center of most of the preoccupation and conversations, in the C-suite. It's something, which is really at the heart, of most of the conversation and the strategies. And let's face it, there are a few levers, that can be activated, and the big elephant in the room is how artificial intelligence and generative artificial intelligence, can actually boost or further improve, all of that. It's something, that a lot of, I would say, C-suite and leaders, all across, the world, start asking themselves. It's very fair. GBS being at the center of operations, for most of the companies, there is definitely a place and a role to play, for GBS, in that field, as well. And that's basically the reason why, we believe, it's important, that you could hear today, from Rajeev, which actually plays that role in is at the center of all of those, preoccupations, to see how he's actually tackling, with that. So this being said, Rajeev, I know that, we did prepare, some questions, but it's, as the disruption becomes the new normal, and reinvention, is actually almost, at the strategy, not to say at the center of every strategy. What do you see as the role of GBS, in that context?
It's a great question, Arik, and thank you for sticking to the script. He was threatening me to ask different questions, but let me try to share my thoughts with you. Just ask yourself which is a function which has a visibility into all the processes in the company, be it master data, be it record to report, be it source to pay, or be it order to cash. I sometimes joke around that GBS is like a washing machine of the company where all the dirty laundry comes in. And to an extent, it's true too, because you get complete end-to-end visibility. Now, the question is, what do you do when you see so many things flying by your processes day in and day out? I believe that GBS can be a good disruptor. It can be a good thought provoker, and it can be a good challenger to the business to go back and tell them the value. We are a very data intensive organization, so you would play a very disruptive role. I also believe that working along with our partners, whose landscape and horizons is very large, the spectrum of the industry is very large, you could do wonders. At Mondelēz, we are learning still. We are in incubation and embryonic stage, and I'll talk about it later. But there is no other organization in my mind which has the visibility end to end and could bring about very disruptive changes. Having said so, you cannot be disruptive daily. Like every day morning, you can't come up and say, here's a new shiny toy, let me experiment. Here's another shiny toy, let me experiment. Have a very clear strategy, sell it to the stakeholders, and build up base one by one, baby steps.
Thanks, Rajeev. I mean, you've literally a little bit underplay your role, in actually combining technology, and process, together, all across, your life, but you have this really extensive, business experience. It's how have you approached, AI and Gen AI? Because you mentioned data, you mentioned, the digital core, the technological depth, cleaning up your data, master data, all of that. Obviously, working for a snack company, the customer being at the center, it absolutely makes sense. But how have you actually approached that, with your long experience, of technology, embedding it?
Yeah. See, I've been at various companies where the CIO or the GBS, there are two different entities. We are lucky at Mondelēz that the CIO holds a portfolio for technology and process both. Now, having said so, one need to be smart enough to encash the advantage of two, but not overlook the importance of the process over technologies. Technologies will keep coming and going. Few years back, I remember we were talking cloud, we were talking uh, even from Y2K, I've been around for 29 years, and now we are talking AI, Gen AI, so many things coming in. These technologies will change. By the time we are out of the room, trust you me, our phones will have 5 more apps to be downloaded, and someone would have invented something new with the amount of investments which is happening. Uh, I call this talent as a bridge talent, where you can apply the right technology to reinvent the process, to take out the process inefficiencies and make it people neutral. That's what AI and Gen AI could do for you, do for us, rather not for you. Another thing, what we can think through is, do you really want to experiment with new technology on the old processes? Maybe no. Maybe no. Because the way, if you look at from outside in, the processes are changing because of the consumer behavior, especially for us, snack company, how people buy our products, or the previous beverage company, how customers buy our products. You just need to apply outside in principle, get back a little, and say, how can we apply the two to the best? And I believe that shared services who run the processes day in and day out internally and with our partners, they understand the business very well. So just leverage it with a dose of technology, but don't give up on the processes.
And I'm sure that the people in the room are eager to hear from you. Can you actually share with us, sorry, some successes or some learnings or even some screw ups, that you had, at doing all of that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can do so. Recently, about 9, 10 months back, we embarked on a journey of doing a procurement transformation on a category in a particular region. We went ahead, spent a lot of money, and what was wrong? Give it a guess. The data underlying was totally in a mess. So we jumped too early, looking at the shining toy. A lot of excitement, a lot of pressure from the top management. Okay, guys, do something, do something. And what didn't fix is the underlying master data or the data quality. So the learning from there was, it's dirty work, but it needs to be done. An example I give is, folks, when you join the company and day one, if your salary doesn't come into the right bank account, we create a lot of noise. We are not happy. But when it comes to companies' master data, somewhere those elements are not given enough importance. We need to fix that base first before you go into the next one. That's the learning. Success, well, I can talk about example from my previous beverage company, not on the AI, but on data algorithm. We had thousands and thousands of vending machines online out in the market from where the consumer behavior could be predicted. We were generating about 94 million records per month, dumping it into a Q&A kind of a solution, putting up an algorithm to figure out which consumer at what point in time quenched their thirst with what type of beverage. That helps us to the revenue growth management. And what we also realized was that if you are able to do a personalization or a hyper personalization of messages to the consumer, it works quite well. Again, it was process and technology. Initially, people laughed at us saying GBS or shared service or IT, why would you do it? But we proved it. And what I learned was, if people don't laugh at you loudly, your dreams are not big enough. So more people laugh at you loudly, you need to give that audacious thinking on the table. Uh, my colleagues are here. We were chatting one day. I'll just quote Sergio. We were here someday and I said, Sergio said, Rajeev, what do I do? I'm not getting a chance to sit on the table. I said, carry your own chair. And he said, no, maybe I'll go through the window. Sometimes you need to find ways how to put your point across to the stakeholders and the business people and then make your way through. But don't give up. Persistent perseverance, keep doing it.
Yeah, that's great learnings and great wisdom. No, thanks, Rajiv. Um, there is probably in this room, it's a lot of professionals. They probably act across multiple functions and domains, within the company. Where, in your views, do you see the most immediate impact of artificial intelligence or generative AI in the world of operations?
I wish, Eric, I had one right answer, honestly, because see, it's like farming. You have to take experimental seeds and throw it across all the organization. That's what I believe in. Some people believe in having a concerted efforts with either procurement or with commercial or with finance. I believe in farming. You throw some seeds, some will land in fertile soil, some will land on rock, but at least 20 out of that, two or three will bring crop, which will just pay back the entire ROI for the cost of the seeds. So don't stop. Keep thinking, keep experimenting. Right now, we are doing some experiments on standard operating procedures on finance. We are doing experiments on commercial area. We are also doing experiments on call centers. So many areas you could harvest the crop from. So
True.
just go and throw
I
seed.
mean, we've ourselves, run, several experiments, because before actually reaching out, to partners, we are ourselves, operators, so we use ourselves as a sandbox, and they created more than 700, use cases, altogether.
Excellent.
Some successful, some less successful, let's put it this way, but at least we tried a lot,
Oh, yeah.
It's,
And Eric, every failure is a step towards success.
exactly.
Just like this bulb in the hall.
Yeah.
After Edison was being interviewed, people asked him, "Hey, you failed so many times." He said, "No, I was one step more closer to the success." So experiment, encourage the teams to experiment, encourage them to fail, and success will be there.
Yeah. Run fast, fail fast. Run again.
Absolutely. But don't stop running.
Exactly. There is something which is close, to our core values at Accenture, which is responsible AI. It's and I was curious about how do you approach it, at Mondelēz? It's there is always a question from a lot of partners, saying, how can we be sure that whatever the machine do or says, is reliable? How can we be sure also that the machine is not putting us into trouble? Everybody has heard about, Air Canada and the customer policy, which really put them into a big trouble, for reimbursements, which where the machine decided by itself, to do some funny things. How have you approached it, at Mondelēz?
Interesting thought, Eric. You used a sentence saying, "How is machine deciding?"
Yeah.
Right. So at least I believe machines don't decide. They give you some options. And the human intelligence comes in to choose one of the options applied in the business to do so. Initially at Mondelēz, it went all over the place. My colleagues are here in the room. They can vouch for it. Everybody jumped on. Everybody went to public places. Everybody went on their laptops, downloading, doing whatever they could. We stopped it. So very clearly, there's a AI responsible ethics committee with the legal, with the commercial people, with the CTO, CCO. There's a very structured approach. And we have involved a lot of partners to build up that structured approach with us. Within the functions, there's a very clear guideline on how does this operating model works of AI and Gen AI. How would people like me from GBS bring across the value case, look at the ROIs, look at the dollars value in the end, while we take it to from incubation to production phases. So it took us some time. It took us a lot of, if I take off my shirt, you'll see some real bad marks and bruises, but now it's falling in place. Are we absolutely perfect? No. But are we reaching towards perfection together? Yes.
Okay.
So sorry, there's an AI ethics board, there's an AI board, and the key fundamental principles are accountability, responsibility, privacy, ethics. Check all of those marks with some pre-built questionnaires, and then go ahead and experimenting. I'm sure we are also doing it here.
Yeah. Thanks, Rajiv. As part of our, I would say, preparation, conversations, we also touched on talent. And I know it's a topic, which is, people is a topic which is close, to your heart, as well. Can you give us your views about, what's how talent, gets impacted, in nowadays operations, and also with the eruption, of all of these new technologies, lately?
Sure. We'll need to be ready for the future, which we can only envisage or we can predict, but we don't know. So how do you predict future and how can you be ready? I give an example that if you're eating in a big box and you want to keep some more food, you have to take out something from the boxes. And that holds true with people's mind as well. At least as leaders and colleagues here in the forum, my suggestion would be take off the redundant thinking from people's mind so that they don't have to worry, because then they can think. And they can think, the more they think, the more talented they would become. It's a misnomer that you can manage talent. Managing talent is like putting a gun on Picasso's head and asking him to draw. which generally never happens, right? Let your people fail, let them think. And for us to be successful, you have to take off that mundane and redundant activities from people and allow them to think. That's how you grow a good talent pipeline. It can happen on all the places of the hierarchy. It could happen at the bottommost level or the topmost level. But please encourage people to think. Ask lead questions, don't give answers. Challenge them their own thinking. Then I believe those talent would grow. While there are structured approaches, there are courses, there are self-learning, there's plethora of things along with the partners. But end of the day, it's a person sitting, Eric and Rajeev sitting behind, whose this space needs to be free to think.
Yeah, that's thanks, for sharing all of that. So with this, obviously, we don't here, to just, give you a big lesson. We can certainly open up, for questions, from the room. Is there any questions, from the audience? Come on, guys, we cannot be that clear. Please go ahead.
That wasn't the deal, Ruxandra.
You knew that coming from Ruxandra, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Rajeev, was it difficult to convince our senior leadership to start experimenting with AI? Because obviously, planting seeds costs money. I wonder, what was the main argument from your side? Was it related to efficiency? Did you talk about competitive advantages? Because I love the other presentations, from other companies. They build a lot of competitive advantages through Gen AI. So I wonder, how did you manage to convince our leadership?
That wasn't the deal, Ruxandra, but you since asked me a question in the stage, I'll have to answer it. Look, it's not about your height of your argument that this will work. It's depth of your conviction. Let me repeat, it's not height of your argument which will help you win the case, but depth of your conviction. If you are convinced that this is the place for us to be in near future, you would talk with conviction to the senior leadership. Of course, they need the dollar value end of it. So do those projections and go with a very deep conviction in your mind. It's like a belief. It's like religion. If you believe in it, it will happen. If you don't believe it in it, will be another exercise. You're welcome, Ruxandra.
Any other questions?
Hello. So you mentioned that you are planting several seeds, expecting that you will harvest the crop of at least some of the seeds. Can you give some examples in which areas, like customer operations, HR, forecasting, in which areas you are planting those seeds to explore?
Sure. Say your name, please.
Simona from Midlin.
Simona, thank you for asking that question. It's across everywhere. I mentioned in the beginning, the GBS is the function where you get to see all the areas. Let me give some examples. Some things which we are toying about is about master data. We have seen BYOD. We have seen bring your own chairs or go through the window. It's like BYOM. Because to maintain the hygiene of master data, you could bring in your own master data and the intelligent tool can help you fix it. What are the basics and what are not the basics? One, procurement for sure. My colleagues are sitting here. You can chat up with them. They'll tell you in procurement how we are experimenting with some of the largest categories which are impacted. Cocoa story, the whole world knows how we are also grappling with it. Talk about finance. There are multiple standard operating procedures or chart of accounts in various of our regions, in 4 regions and 14 BUs. Let's talk sales and commercial and supply chain. And I can keep on going on and on. Consumer care area, listening to the voice of the customers, converting and doing sentiment analysis and trying to get back to them to get our share of that wallet from them. So what we encouraged, Simona, was the experts who are running the processes, make them think through and bring out anything. So there is nothing right or wrong. Let them come in. The advantage, what happens is some of it gets solved through reporting analytics, simple. Some of it needs AI intervention, either through a chat, interactive chats, or it needs some other LLMs to be built up. So across all the functions, legal, not that much, but rest of the things, it's a quite big inventory of about 50 plus cases, which gets filtered through a pretty robust engine.
I think there was another question right by your side. No? Yes.
Hi, hello. I'm Pedro from AstraZeneca. My question is more about which kind of techniques do you believe that is easier to adopt? Is like knowledge-based or clustering models, prediction models? What you see that is easier for the customers to start, to experiment and get the benefit from it?
Yeah. Yeah, for us, I can talk as CPG of an industry, and for you from pharma, it could be different. But I still believe a predictive model could be a good way to start off with, because all what you're trying to do is trying to predict based on behavior on the data, generate something new. That's a difference in AI and Gen AI. In Gen AI, you're trying to generate something new based on the predictions. So those modelings could be a good place to maybe focus up a little.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions? Surprising. We cannot be that clear. Over there.
Hi, Pedro Lopez from Sandoz. Maybe a question regarding the approach to introduce AI. So I really believe that at some point you can do things without saying that you're doing those. So how do you see that approach? Starting to introduce AI in small elements, do you see risks? Do you see a benefit in doing that?
We believe it starts at the top. Starts with enlightenment education at the top level. Like for us at Mondelēz, we have gone till the Mondelēz leadership executive team, walked them through some of the sessions, made them understand the difference between AI, Gen AIs, etc., with some very structured approaches with the partners doing tabletop exercises and also getting them with the partners. So it starts at the top. Once the leadership gets it, okay, it's not as easy as give me the CD, I'll implement ERP. And that's what I've heard from some of the leaders in the past. Give us the CD, I'll do implementations. Once that starts coming in, they understand and then they're willing to co-invest with you and take those steps across. While you do so, build up some very small use cases, low-hanging fruits, step by step, one by one, and show them the benefits. Then this thing becomes easy. One is having a strategy, second is to execute it on the ground with the people who use it and day in and day out. Once those credentials start getting built up, our frontline and users are happy, then it becomes like a big effect, domino effect across the organization. Yeah. Does it answer your question? Yes. But start at the top. That education and enlightenment is very important, because our leaders go through in multiple forums like this. They get to listen, and all of them are intelligent people. And thanks to the academies of Googles and academies of WhatsApp, they keep listening everything. So just get them in a room, explain them what we are trying to do.
Any other questions?
Can we ask a question, Eric?
Sure.
Okay. In the end.
Please.
In the end.
Well, I can actually ask you one. If there was one thing you could do differently, what would that be?
I should have started earlier, much earlier.
Yeah.
Because it took us some time. And if we just have to stop talking and start doing it. We should have done it much earlier.
You never started early enough.
That's true. That's very true. Look, speed will be a matter of time, but if colleagues in the room, people in the room haven't yet started, just go ahead and start doing it. Because the world is changing faster than we can think. It's changing very, very fast. It's a speed which is like absolutely incredible.
Well, thank you. And again, I think unless there is any additional questions, from the audience, with Rajeev, thank you very much, for joining us, today, for taking the time and then sharing, all of your experience and wisdom, from so many years, of exciting engagement across different companies. It's been our pleasure, to have your company, today, and we really look forward, to continue partnering, with you in the future. And thanks, for the questions from the audience. And see you all, in the networking events, and the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, team.